2, 3, 4.
Is it a scarf or is it half of a sweater? From what I've heard, it could be a third of a poncho. There's no excuse now not to be knitting, 'cause you can do it standing and you can do it sitting.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Truly Myrtle podcast. I'm Libby and this is episode 96. It is so nice to have you here. I've had a funny couple of weeks. I've just knitted non-stop. You know those weeks? Well, I know those weeks where I just have a lot to do, a lot of knitting to get on with, and I just sit. I'm starting to feel a bit like a whale. I'm just sitting on my bum and knitting a lot. But I'm hoping I'm coming to the end of a project that I need to get off my needles, and I'm hoping that next week I'll be back to being a bit more moving in my life. I'll be moving a bit more. I love knitting. I love knitting. I have to knit every day or I don't feel right. But and it sounds like a dream, doesn't it? It sounds like a dream to me, just to be able to sit and knit all day. But when you're actually sitting and knitting all day and working hard to meet a deadline and just trying to get those stitches done, sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. I don't know. No, I do know you can have too much of a good thing. It's great. In fact, the project I've been working on has been quite zen because it's not mindless knitting. I have to really think about it. I'll talk to you about it a bit later when it comes out. It won't be long, just another few weeks. But I have to really think about it when I'm working on it, and that's really good for me. I can't watch anything while I'm knitting. I can't listen to anything. Sometimes for some of the rows I can listen to something. I can't talk. I just focus. And it's actually really good for me just to switch off like that and focus. So that, it has its silver linings, but I'm also quite keen to get it finished. So anyway, it's been a funny couple of weeks. So between that and sitting at my computer, I haven't done a lot else. But what I have done is I've released a new hat pattern, and I really wanted to talk to you about it, partly because I'm really pleased with it, and partly because the yarn I have used is magnificent. We're really spoilt at the moment down here in New Zealand and Australia. Some amazing yarn is coming out of this end of the world. It's really exciting. I'm absolutely loving it, and I was so thrilled to get my hands on some of this new fantastic yarn for these hats that I've released, the Sister from Another Mister hats. So I don't know if you saw them. I'm going to show them to you. I've released two hats, and they're called Sister from Another Mister. This is the Heather hat, and this is the Libby hat. So the idea behind these hats is that there's two patterns. Both designs are in the same pattern. They're a twin. They're a pair of hats. They're cousins. They're sisters, these hats. They're not related, but they're sisters. So that was the idea behind the pattern. The idea was two things that are really similar or just a really click and work well together, but are not actually the same. And I have a very dear friend, Heather, who I've known since I was 3. And she's like my sister from another mister. Well, she is my sister from another mister. So we're not related at all. We've always clicked. Heather is as blonde as I am dark. We've done different things with our lives, but our lives have sort of intersected all the way through. We really worked together as kids. We enjoyed each other. Our mums were friends. We went to different schools. We had different circles of friends. But whenever we got back together, it was like, well, we just worked. We just really worked together. It's fantastic. The funny thing that we always did was we always bought the same things. We still buy the same things. It's got to be so ridiculous that we've stopped even thinking it's ridiculous anymore. It's the first started happening when we were in our teens. We have very similar taste, clearly. We're in our teens and we both have jobs and we're saving up hard. And I think the first thing that I remember was my mum saying, Marg, Heather's mum, told me that she just bought those exact shoes that you've just saved up for and bought. And I had these beautiful Mini Cooper shoes. If anyone who's lived in Auckland or in New Zealand for a long time, Mini Cooper is a sort of an iconic shoe brand. I don't even know if they're still around. They might still be around. They should. I should go in there if they are. Anyway, I saved up all my money from when I was working at Georgie Pie. If you're in New Zealand, you know what that is. And I bought myself some green Mini Cooper shoes. It was a big deal for me, and Heather had bought exactly the same. And then just lots of things as our years went on. We just laugh together. We just get each other. We know each other, and Heather's just one of those people you just totally relax with. Anyway, we've done lots of things together. She moved to the UK when I was in my 20s, and then we went to the UK not long after, a few years later, and lived in London. We both lived in London. We saw quite a lot of them. And then she had a baby. And then I had a baby. We both had boys. And then she's gone on to have 3 girls after that. And I went on to have 3 girls after that. And our kids are like cousins, because when we went back to the UK later and lived in Cambridge for a long time, the reason we went to Cambridge was because Heather was there with her family, and we decided we needed a family away from home. So we went deliberately to Cambridge to be near Heather and her family. And our kids, we had more babies together when we were there. I think we both only had 2 when we arrived. She might have just had her 3rd, and I quickly had my 3rd baby. And then our kids just grew up together when they were little. It's really nice. They're now back in New Zealand, and we then came back to New Zealand. And but they live in town, so we see them periodically. But it's a little more tricky now because we don't all live in the same place. We used to live across the road from each other, and then round the corner in Cambridge. But our kids are like cousins to each other. They know each other so well, and they're exactly the same. The boys are together, and then the 3 girls, and they all just click. It's funny. You can sort of see some of those family birth order stereotypes coming into play. And Heather and I are both the eldest of 4. Well, actually, I'm the eldest of 5, but she's the eldest of 4. We have 4, and then a big gap, and then 1 in my family. So yeah, so I don't remember a time of not knowing her. You just can relax and just be totally yourself when you're with people like that, can't you? So I think we've all got sisters from other misters in our lives. I hope you have. I hope you've got someone. I've probably got a couple of people, if I'm honest, that through my life that I've scooped up along the way. But Heather was really, really so kind to come in the photos with me. She did a fantastic job modelling. It was a nightmare trying to model. I'll put some photos in so you can see. We could not stop talking. So that's one of the things. We just don't stop talking. We have so much to say. We have so many similar views on things. And so we do a lot of yeah. Oh, yeah. Laugh. Yeah. So when we're talking about things, especially kids, we talk about kids a lot. And, big life issues, and we save the planet and we save the world and all those sorts of things when we're together. But there aren't many gaps in between the talking. So my brother and my husband took the photos, and it was quite a challenge for them because we'd try and stop and we'd keep talking. So it was one of those sort of photo shoots, but it was really fun. We had a really good time. So out of it came 2 hats. This is the Libby hat. So this is the one I wore, and this is the Heather hat. So they have lots of similarities. They have they're the same size hats. The hats come in 3 different sizes, a small, medium, large. I find that most kids, by the time they get to about 8, 9, probably 9, fit the medium-sized hat. Their heads don't really change too much after that. So the small will fit a smaller kid or a very small woman's head. And then the medium, we both wore a medium, and then there's a large for a slightly larger head as well. So all the sizing is in the pattern. They're similar. So they have the same stitch counts, the same number of, the same brims, and then they have this different panels through the middle. And then they finish with the same crown, and I love the crowns. Can you see that? I just love the crowns. They're obviously different colours, so you can do quite different effects with them, but they have the same crown at the top. And it's this middle colourwork section that's different on both the hats. Similar, but different. Yeah. They're fantastic. I had a really good time making them. Now, something I've included in the pattern is a colouring in page. So, actually, I'll talk to you about that in a minute. The thing I wanted to say first was, when I designed them, I've just come out with Floozy. And the whole idea of Floozy was a colourwork pattern where you didn't have to change colours on a row. So it was 1 colour per row. You remember my cardie? And we all enjoyed that, didn't we? Just 1 colour per row. And then it's slightly ironically, I come out with a colourwork hat straight after that. But what I did with this hat was, it needed to be colourwork, this yarn. I'll talk about the yarn in a minute. I have a whole basket of it to show you. It's absolutely divine. It needed to be colourwork, I felt, because the yarn was just, that's what it wanted to be. We talk about yarn whispering, don't we? And I think yarn knows what it wants to be, and this needed to be colourwork. So, I designed it with the beginner colourwork knitter in mind. And so The repeats are quite easy. They're only over 8 stitches. So it's not this crazy long repeats that you need to remember. They're 8 stitch repeats all the way through the pattern. So it's just little groups of 8. And the other thing is that most of the rows only stretch about an inch where you have the float running behind. So it's when you carry your yarn behind your work. Most of the rows are about an inch long. So you don't need to catch your float. There's probably 3 or 4 rows in each of the patterns where you might want to catch your float because they run over 7 stitches instead of 5. So, but you don't have to. I see lots of colourwork patterns out there at the moment where people aren't catching their very long floats, and it's totally up to you whether you do that or not. And what catching a float means, I can show you inside my hat, one of the hats. So you can see all the colourwork inside the hat. I have caught my floats just because I was experimenting with some new ideas of catching floats. And what that means is you twist the yarns together halfway through that long length that you're carrying so it catches it in. So you'll see I don't have any really long pieces of yarn stretched between my stitches. Even where I've got these very long floats, I've caught it in the middle, but you don't have to do that. You don't need to make it more tricky for yourself. I mean, once it's on your head, it's not going to get caught on anything else, unless you've got hair clips or things in your hair, possibly. But you don't have to. If you are interested in learning more, I've got a book which I'm going to show you. I should have got out before I started. If you are interested in learning more about catching floats and colourwork in general, I can recommend this book. It's great. It's really great. It's got some fantastic little patterns in it. I made all mine up, so I didn't use any out of the book. This is actually a stitch dictionary for colourwork patterns. So if you're interested in making up your own, or if you get a pattern like this and you decide that you want to substitute your own repeat of colours in the middle, you know that it's an 8 stitch repeat. You could go to a book like this and you could find an 8 stitch repeat in here, and I'm not going to find one, am I, just from looking now, but there'll be something where it's an 8 stitch. You're just looking for the 8 because it's knitted in the round. Ignore the +1 or the +2, ignore that because you're knitting in the round for a hat. So you find something that has an 8 stitch repeat. I can't find one, but look, that's a 10. There'll be one in here, I just haven't picked one up. And find that and just substitute it in for the rows that you've got available. This is all charted in this pattern, so you know exactly how many rows you need to work over, and you can substitute your own pattern in or make something stick to that 8 stitch repeat. Now, something else that I really love about this book, it's called Alternate Stitch Dictionary. It's by Andrea Rangel. I think that's how you say her surname, Andrea Rangel. She's in the States. So she talks a lot about choosing yarn and choosing colours. That's really helpful. Something I did put in the pattern about choosing colours was I talk about how you make your colours pop. So when you're working with 2 colours, one wants to stand out above the other, and you can control that. And I've put a little note in the pattern about how to do that. And I've said that when you're lifting your floats across, the colour you keep at the bottom is the one that's going to be the pop. Now, it seems completely counterintuitive to me. Well, I was trying to remember a way of thinking about it, and I was thinking about things that, we talk about the things at the bottom. Anything where you can imagine things at the bottom, they're not going to be the most powerful one, but actually in this case they are. So you have to think of something that helps you remember that the pop colour, or the colour that's going to stand out, the strong colour, is going to be the one that you hold at the bottom when you're carrying your colours from one. When you're working your colours, you carry your colour at the back, carry it at the bottom. The colour that works from the bottom is the pop colour. Once you're doing it, you'll see what I mean. But if you want to know more about it, in the front of this book, she talks about holding yarn, and she also talks about catching floats. She's got a lot about catching floats, and she goes through all the different ways of holding your yarn and ways to catch floats. And I used some of these methods, and they were fantastic. To catch my floats, just because I was experimenting. But she also talks about colour dominance, and this is what I'm talking about. So you can make one yarn pop completely above the other just by the way you hold your yarn. So colour dominance. It's a good book. It's a really good book. She also talks about reading charts and swatching and steeking, because she's got a bunch of cute patterns in this at the back. There's one in here that I really love. I think it's that one. Look at that. It's not a hat. It's a cowl. It's a fantastic cowl. It's a fingering weight cowl, and you knit it as a tube, and then you don't steek it. So it isn't steeked. But steek is when you cut your knitting. It's much scarier than it actually is. I mean, it sounds much scarier than it actually is. But this cowl is a fingering cowl. It must have lovely drape to it, especially if you use a bit of silk in it. And you knit it in the round, so it's a tube that you then just slide over your head. I think I'd love that. I'm tempted to make up one of those at some point because it's so cute. She's got garments as well. Yeah, it's a really good book. So if you wanted to know more about Colorwork, I can recommend this one just as a good get yourself started sort of guide with Colorwork. I mean, there's a lot around for Colorwork. But as I said, these hats are designed for the beginner Colorwork person. A lot of my testers hadn't done much, if any, Colorwork before. They all found them a breeze. And they're so fast. They're so fast to make because the yarn is beautifully chunky. So, let me tell you about the pom-poms. Now I've got the pom-poms looking at me. You don't have to put a pom-pom on. In the yardage, I've included enough yardage that will cover the pom-pom. And I had experimented with pom-poms. I haven't said what size pom-poms to make. It's totally up to you what you want to make. I ended up trying 2 different size pom-poms. First of all, I've got these little pom-pom makers. You use those. I used to use cardboard and wind my, yarn around the cardboard and then cut it. And that makes a great pom-pom. But when I'm trying to make 2 identical pom-poms, you can use plastic like ice cream lids. In New Zealand, we have these square ice cream containers. You can use plastic and reuse the plastic to make the same, but I'm always slightly nervous about how big my pom-pom's going to turn out with that method. But anyway, I used these. First of all, I tried the smaller pom-pom maker. I have a set of about 3 or 4, I think. I tried the little one, and they were too small. So in the end, it looks massive, but I ended up using that pom-pom maker. And the way you use them is you open them out. You open them out like that, and you wind yarn around one side until it's fairly thick. And then you wind your yarn around the other side till it's fairly thick. You close your pom-pom maker. You snip it through the middle, all the way through the middle, and then you get I got other yarn, and you tie it. You can do anything strong, linen thread or whatever, and tie it through the middle of the pom-pom and pull it really tight and tighten it. And then your pom-pom is secured and it's cut. And so then you pull off your halves of the pom-pom and you're left with a pom-pom in the middle. It's really easy. But you can see, actually, it looks big, that pom-pom maker to me, but it's not. It actually made a fabulous sized pom-pom. So that's the pom-poms. I like a pom-pom, but you don't have to put them on. I mean, the crown is so pretty that you really don't need the pom-pom if you just want the pretty crown on top. Now, let me tell you about the yarn, because the yarn is so beautiful. I've got a runny nose today. There must be something out there making my nose drip. It's spring. I don't really get spring allergies. When we first got back to New Zealand, I reacted to something. There was something out there that made me, it might have been pine trees or something, that made me lose my voice and get quite husky. I couldn't shout. That was the biggest thing I noticed. And I didn't really get too drippy, although I was a little bit congested. But now that's gone. I've changed my diet significantly in the last couple of years. And so that's gone. I don't really react to that. But just every now and then there's something that makes me get a bit sniffy. Something just must bloom or something. Anyway, I think that's what's happening. Either that or I'm cold. So, colours, yarn. Oh, the yarn. So the yarn that I use is from Hannah at Circus Tonic in Australia. This is a beautiful Australian, New Zealand, Antipodean collaboration, I have to say. So the yarn base itself, which comes in a couple of base colours, pretty sure that's not over dyed. That one definitely isn't over dyed, so probably this is the base. Comes from New Zealand. Just dropped that one. It's a beautiful, beautiful base yarn. It's a worsted weight, or a really plump DK would work as well. It's a woolen spun. It's a blend of merino cross. So that's when a merino is crossed with a Romney, and I know that the yarn that they're using for this particular base, that's the one that they're breeding out the prickle, so it's very soft. So it's that crossed with a bit of Polworth. I give you all the details in the front of the pattern, and I'm going to remind myself, yeah, it's 80% merino cross, 20% Polworth. I include a page like that in my pattern. You can't see that so much, my print is really faded. But it tells you all the details of what you need. Every colour, I tell you what you need for every colour. It's glorious yarn. It blooms, it's soft, it's lovely to work with, it's proper sheeping. It's proper sheepy yarn. It's just good. So the yarn itself comes from New Zealand, and then it's been dyed by Hannah, and she has just put some beautiful colours on it. Let me show you. So there's a variety. I have a variety. She sent me a whole lot. These are my bits and pieces left. So I used, for the heather hat, these ones together. So we've got these sort of pinks and blues, and they're all slightly, they're not tweedy, they're slightly mild because they have this sort of grey of the natural fibres running through them. I think it must be a dark Polworth that runs through it. It must be a dark Polworth, and that gives it that lovely depth and lovely mild look. They're just beautiful, and she's done it in these sort of faded colours, sort of faded flowers, and I think that's probably as a result of it's a non-superwash, fairly unprocessed style yarn. So that's going to happen. You're going to have a more faded colour palette, which is absolutely beautiful. I think it suits it really well. That was for the Libby hat. So there's a darker grey, that lovely green. It's beautiful. That's actually the wrong pink. Oh no, that is the right pink. I had this lighter pink, and then the lighter grey, and it's almost barber poled. The way that the dark Polworth is coming through in some of these. It's absolutely lovely, but it still smells sheepy, even after it's been dyed, and it just feels so good. I just can't explain. I don't know why I can't explain. It's absolutely delicious. You don't want to eat it, but you could eat it. It's so yummy. And then there's a third lot, which Hannah's made up for the third. I'm pretty sure that this is the third lot, which is the Hannah colourway that you can buy. So there are kits available to buy, and it's sort of greys and blues and lemons, and they're just beautiful. So it has lovely drape. I mean, actually, to be honest, it'd make a beautiful jumper. Absolutely beautiful. It really would. It's just so, it's so lovely and smelly and cozy, and it's not going to pill. It's just going to be amazing, this yarn. So that was my swatch. When you're swatching, I swatch in the round to get my stitch count right. I've cut off my ends. I may have swatched so that they were kind of closer together and then cut it. I don't remember why I have no ends hanging off. But when you're knitting when you're swatching in the round, you end up with tube. Or what I do is I have these strands of yarn at the back. I'm sure I've showed you that before. And I do a decent size. See, I do a decent size swatch, and then I measure my gauge in that. But yeah. It's up to you whether you swatch or not for a hat. I don't know. I didn't really used to swatch for hats so much. But honestly, if you want it to fit, it's probably a good idea, or it'll fall on or fall off. Anyway, there's my beautiful basket of yarn. Hannah still has a few kits left. And I'll put links in the show notes. She's at Circus Tonic Handmade, and circustonic.com.au is her website. So go and have a look. The kits are absolutely beautiful, and you'll get everything you need to make your hat. So you'll get you won't get too much yarn. I mean, you'll get enough. So you'll have enough for swatching, enough for playing with colour. Something I've included in the pattern is a colouring in sheet. Now I don't know if you can see that. I don't know how to make it not so dark. Hopefully you can see that. So on it, I've got this colouring in sheet, and it's for colour planning. It's super fun. So you don't have to use the colour in the order I said, because you've got enough to use any colour in any place in the pattern. I've identified colours A, B, C and D, and in here you won't be able to see, but in here in the picture it says A, B, C, D. So you can actually put your colour that you want in the circle, and then you can colour in accordingly over here, so you know how you want to lay out your patterns. And I have one for each of the hats, so you can have a go at colouring it in. I don't know about you, but I need to see, I can imagine colours together, but often I need to actually see it, and by the time you're knitting it can be too late. So it's quite a good idea to actually have a draw, get your colouring in pencils out and have a go at drawing it. So that's included with the pattern. That's one of the pages in the pattern, is the colouring in page. That was a lot of talking, wasn't it? But I'm really pleased with them. They're super warm. Heather and I wore them on quite a cold day. I'm going to put Heather's on. We wore them on quite a cold day. They've got a nice slouch to them, and we were, they're not scratchy. They're lovely and cozy, and they just, you know what they say, when your head's warm, everything's warm. You're totally warm. So I love a hat. I do love wearing a hat. If you're uncertain about whether or not you love wearing a hat, or whether you suit a hat, go and check out Woolly Wormhead. I'll put a link in the show notes to Woolly Wormhead. So she's this hat designer extraordinaire. She's fantastic. I've met her. I went to a class of hers in England just before I left in Cambridge. It was so great to meet her. I look forward to seeing her again. She's just such a great person. Anyway, Woolly Wormhead did this great demo when I was at the yarn shop. I did the class with her at, and she got everyone to try on all different hats. And her idea, which I 100% agree with, is it's not you. It's not that you don't suit hats. It's just that you haven't found the right hat for you, because everybody suits different things. So, and it's not just what looks good on you, but what feels good on you too. So I quite like hats that are sort of firmer. I like hats that have a firmer fit. So with this one, although it's a worsted weight yarn, I've used tighter stitches on a bigger number, because to me that is a nice fit when it's tighter but there's still a lot of room in it. I enjoy that kind of fit around my head. So it feels good on me. And then I like something that has a bit of slouch, and I don't like a hat that's massive on me. I just like a smaller hat. In fact, I have quite a few little berets that I've designed over the years, and I really wear those a lot. I really enjoy those little hats. But for something cozy like this, I like a bit of a pom-pom on the top. I just like it to be fun and have a bit of slouch. But definitely experiment with hats. I mean, I maybe borrow hats off people or try them on in shops, or make a couple, and if you don't like them, give them away. They're only a small, I mean, you can make up one of these in an evening or two. It really doesn't take very long, and so it's not a massive investment of time, and you can, gift them off if you don't like them. But remember ages ago I used to talk about when I started wearing, I haven't got any on today, but and rings and earrings and stuff and jewelry and shawls. Remember I used to talk about when I first started wearing them, and it was after I'd had all my babies. So Tessa was just a little dot. She was a toddler when I started, so she's 8 now. So I don't know, maybe I was pregnant with Tessa. Actually, I don't remember. I just remember sitting in the park. I've told you this story before. I can remember sitting in the park. We'd gone to a family event. I may have been pregnant. And everyone was playing rounders, and I was watching them sitting down. I was probably knitting, and I had a scarf on. I'd started practicing wearing stuff, because I'd had years and years and years of babies, and I didn't wear a lot of stuff, because babies, they pull on things, and they grab stuff, and they rip your glasses off and all those sorts of things. So I'd had years where I didn't wear any perfume, hardly any makeup, and hardly any accessories, and I decided I just wanted to. I think I'd seen some people that I thought looked really stylish, and it just seemed like a good idea. And so I thought I'd try, and I felt like a real twit. I felt like I remember I had a short a cotton. It was a sort of a cottony thing with little pom-pommy things on it, and I had it round my neck, I had a singlet top on and this shawl thing around my neck. And I can remember sitting there and thinking, I look like such a banana with this thing around my neck, and like nobody would have noticed except me. I was the only one that noticed, and I just pushed through and kept going. And for a long time, I tried dangly earrings. I kind of got over the shawl thing, and I really wanted to wear shawls, and so I just did it. And then it got to the stage where I had a whole lot hanging by my back door when it was time to go out, and I didn't feel dressed unless I had one on, and I just throw one around my neck, and then I'd go. And my mum came to stay with us in the UK at that time. It was a bit later, and I had all my shawls lined up, and so she started grabbing one as well and putting it on around her neck, and now she's a super shawl wearer, so she has these funky things that hang around her neck, and she's totally got on board with it as well. But I also wanted to wear dangly earrings, and my whole life I hadn't worn dangly earrings. I just felt like a Christmas tree. But I decided at the same time I was going to wear dangly earrings. I sort of took this in small increments, guys. I have to do everything slowly, these big changes. And so I'd start wearing dangly earrings, and I'd feel like everyone was looking at these sirens hanging off my ears. And they weren't, of course, and I just slowly got used to it. And now I tell you, the bigger the better. I love my big earrings, and the same with rings. I don't have any on today because I'm doing so much knitting, and I haven't been wearing them the last couple of weeks because of my knitting, and I find it harder to knit fast when I have my big rings on. But the first big ring I bought was a glass ring. I bought it in France. It was actually a Murano glass ring. It's beautiful. One of my kids has broken it underneath. I've got sellotape, so I don't wear it that often anymore. I should probably get someone to try and fix it underneath. Anyway, yeah, I started wearing big chunky rings, and now I'm sort of big chunky rings. But I love bangles, and I love jewelry. I love jewelry. So, but I had to learn how to love jewelry, and I never really had a massive problem with hats. But because I'm super sensible and I hate being cold, so I just would do that and wear hats. And it was quite a novelty actually moving to the UK and having to wear a hat. Whereas here you choose to wear a hat. A lot of people think they can get away without a hat. I don't now that I've had years of hats. But anyway, I'm doing a lot of talking today. But anyway, the same thing goes with hats, doesn't it? The same thing goes with hats. Just try it and see how it feels. And just remember, everybody's thinking about themselves. They're not really thinking about you. And most people don't look at you and go, oh, look at that person wearing that hat. They look ridiculous. Most people will look at you and go, hey, I like that hat. I should wear a hat. Or I should wear a hat. I saw a woman yesterday wearing a hat. As I approached her, she had this hat on and she had a pom-pom on her head. It was like that. It was almost as big as her head on top. And I thought, whoa, that is a hat. I didn't think, oh my God, what a silly hat. I thought, that is a cool hat. I probably wouldn't want to wear a pom-pom that big because, you know, I'm in my mid to late 40s. But I could, though, couldn't I? I shouldn't let that stop me. That's ridiculous. I should even wear one. But I don't really want to wear a pom-pom that big. But she looked awesome with this pom-pom. And I actually thought, hey, proportionally, she's working really well with this big pom-pom. And it looks so good. So try a hat. Go and try a hat. For those of you moving into the cold now, this is your chance to grab a hat this winter and wear it. Because honestly, if it's cold where you are, you should be wearing a hat. You don't want to get sick. Stay warm. Stay cool, you know, like look cool, and colourful and fun, or muted and lacy and pretty or whatever. You find the hat that works for you. It might be a beret, it might be something droopy, it might be a tiny little skull cap. There are tons of hats to choose from. I reckon you should have a go because they're so much fun. I think that's about all I had to tell you today. Basically, I wanted to talk about hats, colours, beautiful yarn, and just having a good time. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. And making one for your sister from another mister. So I still need to make Heather's actual hat. I've got all this yarn left over. I really meanly took it back off her so I could show you guys. But I will make her very own hat. Don't tell her that. She doesn't know. She's going to actually get the hat as well. I gave her a gift for helping me in the photo shoot. But I want to give her a proper hat as well because she does look so good in it. I mean, you've seen her in the photos. She's pretty lovely. So, yeah, have a go with the hats. That's right, I had one more thing I wanted to tell you, is the floozy party. So, if you're thinking of coming to the floozy party, zip in and book a ticket. It's next Sunday, not this Sunday coming. It's next Sunday, the 23rd, I think that's correct. Come to the floozy party. It's at Stitch and Bitch in Parnell in Auckland. It's from 3 till 6. There's no entry fee. Come along. We'd love to know how many people. I think we've got about 70 people booked at the moment. So please let it be good weather because we're going to spill outside. So yeah, if you're going to come, just let us know. And if you have booked a ticket, come because we're counting on you coming. It'll be so great to see you. We're going to have such a good time. We're just planning some cool prizes and some really good fun. And there's going to be food and drink that you can buy to eat and drink. It's just going to be a great time to get everyone together. If you're working on a floozy, bring it. I'll have all my patterns there for you to have a look at, all the samples, so we can do a bit of a try on if you like. But if you're not knitting a floozy, just come anyway. Like, bring whatever it is you're knitting. I just want to see it and meet you and say hi. So we're going to have a really good time. Next Sunday, the 23rd, 3 till 6, Stitch and Bitch and Parnell. I will see you there. Bye, everybody. See you later.
Or even a shawl for a baby. No excuse now not to be knitting, cause you can do it standing and you can do it sitting. Take out your needles, we're casting on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish I love you. You can do it, Mary, you can do it, John. Is it a gnome or some other homely creation? Wait and see, it might even be for a teapot. There's no excuse now not to be knitting, cause you can do it standing and you can do it sitting. Take out your needle, we're casting on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I got official love, you can do it, Mary. Yeah, you can do it, Mary. You can do it, Mary. And you can do it, John.
Gilbert, what are you knitting? There. What are you knitting?
Nothing, man. I crochet.